For you shall be careful to remember the Lord your God, for it is He that gives you power to make wealth, so that He may establish His covenant that He swore to your forefathers. In our individual journeys to wealth, what lessons can we extract from this ancient text? But even before we embark on what we can extract, kindly allow me to demonstrate one simple fact. All truth is parallel. All falsehood is parallel. What that means is an individual needs to discover what is true in one space of life, then cascade that truth in all spaces of life. Similarly, if an individual can isolate or an individual can identify a falsehood in one space of life, that falsehood remains false in all other spaces of life. So, at our postures and how we appear at the marketplace, it is in our best interest to constantly interrogate for ourselves, why do I hold or why do I appear the way I appear, demonstrating the beliefs that you have at an individual level? It is very important that at all times endeavor to arrive at that which is true. For that which is truthful will remain truthful in all other areas of life. In so doing, you will be building on a solid ground. So let us embark on this ancient text. For you shall be careful to remember the Lord your God. The first lesson that all of us should extract is that all meaningful wealth originate and begins with God. I understand there is room for intelligence. I understand there is room for knowledge. There is room for hard work. There is room for diligence. There is room for industry. But all that should not blind us from the fundamental reality. There are things that will happen in life that are beyond your influence. There are things that will happen in your career that are beyond your intelligence, beyond your professional acumen. So all of us need to give room and consideration for divine intervention. God has a role to play in your wealth journey. God has a role to play in your career path. God has a role to play in your entrepreneurial prospects. So all of us, we need to find for ourselves how much space we can give for divine intervention. That is very important. The second lesson that we can extract from this ancient text is, for you shall be careful to remember that it is the Lord your God that gives you power to make wealth. Any legitimate wealth, there are two things that you'll always observe. There is power that preceded the wealth. So does that mean that all of us should consider vying for political offices? I think at this juncture, it is very important if I can provide us with a working understanding of what power is. Because if we fail to appreciate what power is, then we might fail to appropriate elements of power in our own lives. So what is power? Power is the capacity in an individual to cause things to happen. The capacity that an individual holds, that capacity donates to that individual the ability to cause certain things to happen. At times, your access to that power or your access to that influence might be to the extent of your political affiliations, but Your professional acumen has components of power. The knowledge you have has components of power. Your talent, your skill set, your ideas, your creativity, all these have elements of power. Knowledge in itself is not power. Talent in itself, similarly, is not power. So one needs to identify what is the component that my knowledge has. And it's important that we demonstrate there's a huge difference between information and knowledge. So one needs to arrive at, in the knowledge that I bear as I appear in the marketplace, what are those components in that knowledge that can give me the ability to influence or to cause things to happen? Talent in itself is not power. But an individual needs to understand that in the talent and in the demonstration and the performance of my talent, there might be things that will give me the possibility to demonstrate influence. That influence will cause things to happen. That one I need to arrive at for myself. That one you need to arrive at for yourself. All of us, we have traces, we have elements of power in our own individual lives. In your career, you have traces of power. In your life, you have traces of power. In your skill, you have traces of power. And that is your duty as well as mine to discover what those traces of power are. The other lesson that we can extract from this ancient text is, for you shall be careful to remember that it is the Lord your God who gives you power to make wealth so that he may establish his covenant. It is very important for us to understand that there is a bigger picture in the wealth that we accumulate. There is something bigger. There is a purpose that is bigger than you. There is a purpose that is bigger than you being influential. There is a purpose in your accumulation of wealth that is larger than you living in that posh neighborhood. There is a purpose that is larger for your accumulation of wealth than you getting that car or than for you going for vacations. There is a larger purpose. For all of us, our wealth and in the accumulation of wealth is supposed to demonstrate divine wisdom, divine understanding, divine guidance. So if we can just give room that the reason why heaven would want me to be wealthy is because in me accumulating wealth, it is tied with advancing the agenda of heaven, for me advancing the purpose of heaven. And that is what all of us need to qualify. Wealth is not just about me. Wealth is not just about my family and my wife and my children. Wealth is more than that. Wealth is about advancing purpose, advancing agenda. And the agenda that we have is the agenda that God had swore to our forefathers. That leads us to the other lesson to extract. Wealth is a generational affair. Wealth precedes you. Wealth transcends your time and transcends your day and transcends your generation. There is a component of wealth that you hold in trust for the generations that came before you. There is an element of wealth that you hold in trust for the generations that will come after you. It is important that we build that awareness in our people. It is important that we build that awareness in how we appear at the marketplace. There is a generation that I'm holding my skill in trust for. There is a generation that I'm holding my understanding in trust for. We, all of us, at whatever level you appear at the marketplace, you are holding certain things on fiduciary duty. You have the duty of good faith for the generations that went ahead of you. You hold certain resources in trust for the generations that will come after you. Wealth is a multi-generational game plan. So all of us, we need to understand that whenever we appear at the marketplace, how you appear bearing your service, bearing your products, how you appear with your brand at the marketplace, we need to understand that this brand, the interest of this brand transcends my time. The interest of this product transcends my time. The interest of this product and this ingenuity that we have come up with, the interest of this innovation transcends my time. I need you to understand that wealth is multi generational. The resources you have today at your disposal, you have them in trust and you're holding them in trust. You're holding them in trust on behalf of two generations. The generation that came before you, they entrusted resources to you. They entrusted their family name on you. They entrusted their skills, their experiences, their histories, their journeys to you. And from that, you can glean a lot of wisdom. A generation will come after you that will rely on the wisdom that you will pass over to that generation. It is important at whichever wealth journey you're in, it is important that you keep in mind those four important lessons. For you shall be careful to remember that it is the Lord your God that gives you power, that you can make wealth, so that the Lord your God will establish his covenant that he swore to your forefathers. My name is Ogwang, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care. God bless.